All right, I didn't want to have to type out a full novel because I have 32 albums I need to review, and that's going to take me fucking forever. So I'm just going to do it like this instead. So starting with the oldest, the one I need to review first. Mother Earth's Plantasia by Mort Garson. Thank you, Hunter, for that. I wouldn't say that's traditionally the kind of music I would listen to, you know. It wasn't bad, and it was really interesting, especially the concept. Music for plants. I mean, that's kind of sick. But it was a little basic. I did like the classical notes and, you know, the influence there and just how it was all structured, but I feel like traditional synthesizer, while it's important, at least in the modern context, is a little too limited for me personally. So that's getting a 6 out of 10 for me. We got No More Idols by Chase and Status. This one comes from Chai. Honestly, a little forgettable. It wasn't bad, you know. Again, I don't know that I have enough exposure to drum and bass to really know what's good, know what I'm looking for. And, what was that? Sensation. I don't know if that's the title of the track, but, you know, it's on Forza. So, of course, I got some nostalgia for that and, you know, banger song. But in terms of drum and bass, in terms of the electronic I've heard, wasn't super standout to me. I mean, nice, fine, hype, good for driving, but not when I can't speed. 6.5 out of 10. We got Dirt by Alice in Chains. Thank you, Jude, for that one. This is a classic. Alice in Chains, I don't know if they're rated or underrated, but I don't think they're overrated. Certainly some bangers off this one. You know, you got Them Bones. Love that one. You got Wood. That's a classic. That one's got some nostalgia for me because I feel like that was in a Burnout game or maybe a Need for Speed game I played a lot. So, real nice there. And then Nothing tops Rooster. Rooster is such an amazing track. It's brilliant. I love it so much. It's been on my playlist for years. Just a phenomenal song. Rest of the album, though, a little lackluster. Not bad. It just, you know, I guess for an album to get like a really high score, at least in my opinion, every track should be maybe at most half as good as the best track. And I just don't feel like the other songs on this album really met that bar for me, especially with Rooster. You know, if every song on this album was as consistently good as Rooster or Them Bones, like, it's an easy 9.5, right? But I was let down by the rest of the album. It just felt like filler. I was waiting for the good moments. I was waiting for, you know, the big ones, and a little bit of a letdown. So 7 out of 10. Gotta stay hydrated. Okay. Got The Race for Space by Public Service Broadcasting from Evan. And Evan, thank you for reminding me this album exists. I remember listening to it with you on our trip to New York all those years ago. And yeah, it's a really fun album, you know? I don't think any part of it blows me out of the water, but, you know, the concept's great. I love space. I think it's a really interesting, you know, concept to explore, especially that history. All the songs had that nice vibe to whatever event they were talking about. You know, it was cohesive. It was really well put together. I liked the sound. I liked the structure. It's just really nice. As an album, I think it's worth listening to. It's an album I would tell people about, especially if I know that they like space, you know, if they're interested in that. So, 8 out of 10. It was really good. Definitely something I would recommend people, tell people about. Just no singular moment on it, like, really blasted me off. Haha, pun intended. Okay, moving on. We got Stratosphere by Duster. This was a miscellaneous submission, and this was great. It was amazing. I heard about this from a friend. Again, it's a miscellaneous, so... But it really does live up to the hype. I've heard of it. Beautiful slowcore. The vocals, a little drowned out, but in a nice way. In a nice, really subtle, lovely way. Instruments, fantastic. Composition, fantastic. Cohesion, fantastic. Lyrics, a little bit reminiscent of Slint for me, so fantastic. That being said, I don't know if there was a standout moment on this album. I really loved it. I thought it was great. And, there's definitely tracks off of it that I like a lot. But as an album as a whole, really good, not great. 8, maybe 8.5. I don't know. Now we got By the Time I Get to Phoenix by Injury Reserve. This one's me. I learned about this album from a YouTuber I watch who makes video essays about albums he finds interesting. And he described this as post-rap. And you know me, I'm a sucker for anything post, so I checked it out. And yeah, it's phenomenal. It's experimental, but it's cohesive, but it's filled with emotion, but it's clever, but it's serious. It's all of these things, and they work together in a way that you wouldn't expect them to, or at least I didn't expect them to. And it's a gentle violence. I don't know how else I would really describe that feeling, but like the experimentation and the industrial notes in it they're not beating you over the head. They're like lightly slapping you. And I really love that. I don't know that there's a weak track on this album. And there's definitely some like incredible standouts on this album, especially like Outside, the intro, the opening track. Gorgeous. I love it. Footwork in a Wildfire. Oh, wow. That's a fun one. Fucking Knees. That one, I think, if I remember right, this album was made after the death of one of like the core members of Injury Reserve, and they used like unused samples from him in that song. So like there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of potency with it, and it's just fantastic. It's hard for me to like really make a judgment call on it, but if I had to say, it probably is my favorite hip hop album. There's like there's a few contenders, but this one is just an absolute standout for me. I love this album. 9 out of 10. Geogaddi, Boards of Canada from Brendan. It's Boards of Canada, man. It's great. They don't make bad music. It's all great. It's not my favorite Boards of Canada record, but it's still a Boards of Canada record, so 9 out of 10. Like, I don't know what you want me to say about it. It's fantastic. It's produced beautifully. It's composed beautifully. It sounds great. Very fun to listen to. All the sampling they do is just so, like, whimsical, and it's Boards of Canada. I don't know what to tell you. It's good. It's a 9 out of 10. It's always a 9 out of 10. Yeah. Moving on. OK Sugar Issue by Seapool from Evan. It's a little awkward. I listened to this on a flight where I was quite sick. And because of that, I remember very little of this album. But I did take notes, and they mostly consisted of, oh, hell yeah. Nice. I enjoyed that. And at the end of the notes, I gave it an 8. So this is an album I will need to go back to like really give it another proper go. But I do genuinely remember really enjoying it, especially considering how hit miss some of these albums from the like Japanese shoegaze adjacent scene can be with me. I felt like I really did vibe with this one. So I'm sorry that I don't remember that much more about it, but it was good. It was a good album. The Adventures of Kindaichi Kosuke by the Mystery Kindaichi Band from Hunter. I listened to this one recently because I put off albums if they're not on Spotify. It's just a pain in the ass to put it on YouTube, honestly. But when I was driving home from Easter, I had the time. I put it on. And it's fun. Fun little bop. You know, it's like Japanese. I don't know what the movie's about. A vampire who plays the flute, maybe. But, like, it was funky, but in that Japanese funky way. Kind of like Masayoshi Takanaka a little bit. Which I know you also submitted, Hunter. So, like, we're good. But, like, it was nice, you know? Nothing, like, crazy. Nothing terribly stand out to me. But, you know, I'm not going to complain about it. 6.5 out of 10. Sure. The American Four, The Man Comes Around by Johnny Cash from Dom. I didn't listen to a lot of Johnny Cash. I've heard some of his songs. I kind of knew what I was getting into, and obviously I'd heard his cover of Hurt. But I was really surprised, He did a great job. There was a lot of emotion in every track. The whole album felt cohesive and coherent. And I bet if I knew more about Johnny Cash, it would sound almost autobiographical. But, yeah, I don't. So I'm just going to leave that as my personal interpretation and, give it the emotion that it may or may not deserve. Either way, really great. You can't top Hurt. That's one of the best recordings of all time, in my opinion. Just incredible. 8 out of 10. Earth 2 by Earth. Thank you, Brendan. I need to listen to more drone metal. I was only really familiar with Sun, or Sun O, Sun hyphen O, right parenthesis, right parenthesis, right parenthesis. And I really like it. Like Life Metal, I really love. Great album. Great for doing work too, studying, whatever, low intensity activity. Pyroclast, not as good as Life Metal, but, it's just solid. I'm not going to complain about that. Earth 2, it didn't scratch that same itch. It's drone, so it's really slow, and because of that, I hesitate to say it was less dynamic than Life Metal, but that's at least kind of how I felt about it. Was Life Metal had more life to it, while it was slow and you really have to get into that drone and lost in it, I could still tell that there was a sense of movement, there was a sense of direction. Earth 2, yeah, I was moving, but I was moving, I guess, too slow to really feel that. It was good. It's still drone metal. I still really enjoyed it. It doesn't live up to Life Metal, but, it's not far behind. 8 out of 10. I'm not going to be mad about it. We got 10,000 Days by Tool from Kyle. Thank you. It's great. It's an amazing album. There's so much I could say about this album, and this album's review could take up... fuck it. This album's review is going to take up half the video. Okay. Let's get into it. I hit that button. Let's get into it. 10,000 Days, fourth album from Tool, and in my opinion, the third album of the Tool trifecta. You got Enema, you got Lateralis, and then you have 10,000 Days. It's gorgeous, especially with the context of it, especially knowing that this album was written right after his mother died, who had been such a huge influence on his life and his music. And the explorations of those themes, especially in the songs that are explicitly dedicated to her, but you can also kind of pick up on some of that anger, some of that resentment in other tracks, like Vicarious. His mom has a disability, permanent, so he doesn't want her being gawked at, Jambi, wanting to trade your life away to save someone else. It's all connected. It's all in there. He consistently makes really good lyrics. The beats are so complex, and I'm sorry, it's such a pretentious band, and I love them. Tool is great. I love them. 10,000 Days is great. Rosetta Stoned is great. I can sing the entirety of Rosetta Stoned from memory at speed. I shouldn't be proud of it, but I am. It's fucking good. Okay? It's a 9.5 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10 because Lateralis is a 10 out of 10, and I gotta draw the line somewhere, right? If it's not as good as Lateralis, it's not a 10 out of 10. 9.5. I love Tool. They're great. Yeah. Sick Boy by Ren. Thank you, Jake. We were actually chatting about this while I was ill in Florida. Really fucking good, Jake. Where'd you find this, man? I was kind of blown away by this. I loved the lyrics. I liked the performance. I loved the production on it. It all sounded just really fucking dope. I really liked it, and I'm sad that he, hasn't put out anything since then, or at least to my memory, he hasn't. I might just be stupid. I hope he has. But the way he performs, you can hear the emotion in his voice. I liked, how conscientious he was of his subject matter. and it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was preachy. At least it was clever enough to not feel like it. It's just a really, really solid album. I really liked it. That got a 9 out of 10 from me. Good job. We have The Frights by The Frights from Jude. I liked it. You know, lo-fi, kind of indie. Still has that pop punky energy to it. I mean this kindly. This is an album I recommended to my dad. I think he would really like this album. But for me, didn't do a ton for me. Like, it was fine. I didn't dislike it. I wasn't in pain or you know, it wasn't unpleasant to listen to. It's just, you know, this is music for someone who isn't me. And that's fine. 6.5 out of 10. Primero Soy Mexicana by Angela Aguilar from Xavier. I tried way too hard for that. Nah. Not this time. It's good. She's good. Very talented. You know, lovely time. Did nothing to me. It felt like static. There's emotion. She's really giving it all her all. And if this is a genre of music that you enjoy, this is probably great. This is probably really good and fantastic. Well done. Excellent. Yeah. It's just not for me. I didn't get anything out of this. And, you know, I'm sure that, you know, there's a language barrier. I can't understand the lyrics. So that emotion is definitely not getting conveyed in the way it was supposed to. And that's a me problem. But, you know, from my experience listening to this album, I was just kind of bored. She's a fantastic singer. I just didn't like it. 4 out of 10. Psychic by Darkside from Nick. Nice. I liked it. It was really cool. Atmospheric, but still dynamic and still like groovy. It touched on, I guess, a lot of tonal aesthetics that I wouldn't expect in the same album. Ambient, but energetic, slow and fast. You know, it just a lot of fucking dichotomies. Karl Marx would love this shit. This shit's dialectical as fuck. And I loved it. 8 out of 10. You know, I don't have a lot more to say about it. Especially because I just had my phone play it while I was driving somewhere. And so I didn't see the tracks or anything, but really cohesive, stuck together, just kind of flowed together. And I enjoyed that. That was great. 8 out of 10. Hydration. Okay. His happiness shall come first, even though we are suffering, by Backswash. It's really good. I know you guys don't like this shit. I know this isn't for normal people. I'm sorry, you're too much of a fucking normie to like appreciate this shit. I love her lyrics. I love her production. It's reminiscent of Clipping, which I struggled a lot between whether I wanted to put this in here or a Clipping album. But I went with this just because the violence of it, the aggression of it is so much more personal and so much more raw. She is a black trans woman in the West, especially she's an immigrant black trans woman. She just has so much going on, and her previous work is even more violent. This is actually her more subdued work. But I love how it's put together. I love the lyrics. I love how the instruments make me feel like I'm being attacked. It helps me relate a bit to the music, and just sonically, it's cohesive. It feels bad in a really good way. I love it. It's a 9 out of 10. We got ULTRAKUNST by Brutalismus 3000 from Chai. I was surprised. I really liked this. It was really fun. For those of you who have seen Letterkenny, whole album, all I could think of was the skids dancing outside the fucking dollar store. Just that shit. And I enjoyed it. I got into that. Again, I don't speak German. I don't speak Slovak. My hair's all fucked up from that shit. Okay. I don't speak German. I don't speak Slovak. So I didn't hear the lyrics, but from the songs that were in English, I don't know that they were really trying to communicate very personal or thought-provoking things. But, oh my god, the energy, I got pumped. I wanted to fucking dance. And I don't do that. It made me want to go. And that's pretty sick. So, a 9 out of 10 from ULTRAKUNST. Couple songs made it on my daily playlist. Fucking All die Lieben Menschen and Is You Chemical. Excuse me. Banger tracks. Next up, we got Blank by ... Is that nine dots? Evan. On the other end of the spectrum from OK Sugar Issue, I don't remember much of this one either, but that's because it didn't do it for me. I was bored. It just kind of felt like static. If I remember anything, it was that I had the thought of, all of these songs sound like the clips from animes about idol groups of like, oh, look at this new song we made that's going to make everyone love us. And, you know, it all just sounded like kind of generic anime idol music. And I didn't get it. It wasn't for me. 4 out of 10. Nice try. The Downward Spiral by 9 Inch Nails. I slept on this. I shouldn't have slept on this. It was really good. It was really good. It definitely deserves the acclaim it gets. I'm shocked that something like when I heard that this was industrial, my first thought was, I know this is a widely acclaimed album that tons of people listened to and was generally like well regarded in the popular culture. And so because of that, I thought, well, it can't be very industrial then. Like, it can't be that industrial if, you know, it's getting this much attention and this much credit. I was wrong. Trent Reznor did it. He broke industrial out into the mainstream, and he deserves a lot of fucking respect for that. I was very pleasantly surprised by the kinds of sounds that I heard on this. It was a really great industrial record, and it didn't tone things down nearly as much as I expected it to. And it would have gotten a 9 out of 5. If it wasn't for Man with a Big Gun. He really tried to do something good. He tried to make a socially conscious, thought-provoking song about a sensitive topic. And, you know, God bless him. God bless him for trying that. But you can't make a song that sounds like that and have the subject matter be rape. There's too much energy. It's too groovy. It's too joyful. I get that it's like, oh, he's deranged and he's out of his mind on a power trip. You need to either... It landed in the middle, where you need one of two extremes. Either slow, lentement, just remorseful, sinister, ominous energy, or the most grating, noisy, heavy, painful to listen to derangement. And he landed in the middle, and it really left a bad taste in my mouth. If that one song were removed from the album, it'd be a 9.5 out of 10. But because of it, it's an 8.5. I would have remembered so much more about the album if it wasn't on there. But since it is on there, that's what takes up most of my memory. So, 8.5. We got Recto Verso by Paradis from Nick. Lovely. Beautiful. Sweet. Enchanting. I loved it. It was great. Just, you know, chill as hell. This is absolutely music to smoke weed to. Just a vibe. It's just a vibe. These French guys, they know what they're doing when it comes to making electronic. They know what they're doing. I respect that. Don't know what the fuck Recto Verso means, but I like it. I like it a lot. It's an 8 out of 10. We got Sehnsucht by Rammstein from Kyle. It didn't do it for me. It just didn't. It was interesting. I'll say that much. Nothing wrong with being interesting. I like interesting music. It's an album I'm definitely glad to have listened to, but it's not something I'm going to revisit. Like I don't know if they invented the genre, or if they just went with it, but I don't know how I feel about that fusion of almost like new wave vibes with heavy metal. I think it could work well, but they felt like they were fighting each other and not working together here. And, I feel like going one way or the other would have done this album some good. There's talent. I will not fucking deny there's creativity, because there is. I cannot say I've heard anything like that before. It just didn't do it for me. 5 out of 10. Next up, we got The Best, 1980 through 1990 by U2 from Connor. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought U2 was some normie shit music. I especially have a memory ingrained in my head of going to a summer camp. And what I'm looking for was the song that they played over the speakers to wake us up every day. And so that's just always been my mental association of U2 is it's Gen X pop with a rock flair. It's Blink 182 for the Gen Xers. But no, there's some merit there. There's some definite artistic merit. Good shit. I'm sorry I doubted you, Bono. Since I sincerely apologize. Yeah, it was more post-punky than I thought, and they executed well. There definitely could have been more creativity, more experimentation, letting loose a little more. And I suspect that since this is a compilation album, those songs do exist on the records, but since they weren't hits, as they were more experimental, they just didn't make it to this point. But from what was there, definitely songs I've heard, some songs I hadn't. It was pretty good. 7 out of 10. We got Talking Book by Stevie Wonder from Xavier. It's Stevie Wonder. He's great. He's a legend. I'm not denying that. His music isn't for me. It's too calm. It's too saccharine. The emotion's there. The performance is there. I'm just not a fan of that style. Doesn't do it for me. Allie liked it. Allie had a great time. But this isn't her review. It's mine. 6 out of 10. I don't have a ton to say about it. So we got Zeitgeist by Camo and Crooked from Chai. Now this was a drum and bass album that I did like. I did vibe with this more. It was very cohesive, flowed together. I liked the sounds. Again, I just unfortunately don't have the vocabulary to really say why I liked it or the things I liked, but it was good. Definitely a terrible album to be stuck in traffic to, but not the worst. I would have a heart attack if I was listening to Pendulum in traffic, but this one would just be frustrating. So, it's good. I don't have much else to say just because I don't know really how to describe how it made me feel or the particular things that I liked about it, but, it's good. 7 out of 10. We got Control by SZA from Hunter. Pleasantly surprised. I didn't know jack shit about SZA. I just knew she was a pop star. I don't know if that's the appropriate term or if that's derogatory, but, I just knew she made pop, and I definitely have some preconceived biases against pop, but it was good, she didn't, I don't think she followed the standard path too much. It was some good, I don't know if bedroom pop is the right word for it, but chill, good vibes. Wasn't a huge fan of the Pussy song. She said pussy way too much. And, I feel like that kind of detracted from, I couldn't hear anything else but her saying pussy. But besides that, it was a good time. 7 out of 10. Daydream Nation from Sonic Youth. Thank you, Brendan. I had only heard one Sonic Youth song, and that's because it was on Guitar Hero. I didn't remember much about it. But This shit kind of went. It went hard. I could definitely tell it was earlier in the noise movement. A lot of the tropes that I would expect from it weren't developed, or at least weren't really exercised in that album. But, definitely a more accessible way to listen to noise, especially, in entry level. A little bit of an industrial note. I don't know how I feel about the songwriting. I don't know how I feel about the lyrics in it. I feel like there was room for improvement for sure, but excuse me, I need to hydrate again after this. I really liked it. There were a lot of moments that I was like, yeah. I feel I would be surprised if some bands that I really love weren't taking influence from Sonic Youth. It was just really creative, really well done. I don't have much else to say about it. It's an 8.5 out of 10. Look, I'm almost done with my fucking water. We got Trilogy by Carpenter Brut from Dom. It's Hotline Miami music. Yeah, it's going to be hype as hell. But how different are the songs going to be from one another? Not as different as I would like. They're all good. They're all fun. But it is a bit of a slog to get through a full album of that. Like, you put one of those on in your playlist, and when it comes on, you're like, fuck, yeah. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. But you sit through it for 45 minutes, and eventually it just loses its edge. And you're just like, this is synthwave. It's very energetic synthwave. But it kind of sounds like something I heard 10 minutes ago. And that kind of sounds like something I heard 10 minutes before that. So, good. I don't really have a complaint other than it was a bit repetitive, and it just got, peaked early and then just, slowed down. But it's good. It's a 7.5 out of 10. All right, Evan, don't make fun of me. We got Aratamemashite, Hajimemashite, Midori Desu from Midori. And it's good. I definitely did listen to it because of the album cover. It just popped up on Spotify, and I saw that, and I said, well, this is going to be some weird experimental shit, right? You don't put titties on an album cover if it's not some weird experimental shit, right? And I listened to that first song, and I was so disappointed. I was just, what the fuck did I get myself into? What is this shit? And then, I fucking love it. It's such a fucking slap. It punches me in the throat, and I want my music to abuse me. I want to be hurt by it. I want to feel threatened, and I am. And it's great. I don't know what the fuck she's saying. I did try to look for translations online. I was unsuccessful in that. But God, the energy is just, it's all there. It's a little funky, it's a little jazzy, but it still has that like hardcore core. It's not deviating that much from it. It's just bringing in certain sounds and certain influences to create something magical, which it did. I really like this album. 9 out of 10. We got Blank Banshee 0, home stretch. Blank Banshee 0 by Blank Banshee. Thank you, Brendan. Blank Banshee is a legend. Blank Banshee 0 is their best album with several fucking bangers on it, and I know Vaporwave is a meme genre, but Blank Banshee elevates it to actual art, actual music, and Blank Banshee 0 is the second best Vaporwave album of all time. The best Vaporwave album of all time is Slide by George Clanton, but we will get to that one because Hunter thankfully submitted it. But it's Blank Banshee 0. It's the best Vaporwave, or it's the best traditional Vaporwave. Because Slide is like Vaporwave, but also rap, or maybe R&B. I don't know. But this, in terms of just raw, traditional Vaporwave, the incorporation, the inspiration from trap does so good for the genre. It hits so perfect. It just does. It's a fucking 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 there. Gopnik by DJ Blattman. So I like hard bass a lot. It was actually the first electronic genre I like really got into, and I did get into it because of the memes. But then, that ironic appreciation slowly bloomed into an unironic appreciation, and then that matured into shame because, like, there is nothing, like, substantial materially about it, and as much as I don't want to be pretentious about the kind of music I listen to, I know that I am, and so hard bass is just all it does for me. Its only purpose in my life is to get me fucking hyped. Half of my workout playlist is hard bass. It went against the spirit of Music Club, but I wanted to put a playlist together of my favorite hard bass tracks. But I decided that's going to be too complex. That's going to break the rules. Other people are probably going to want to do that. And maybe we can make an exception for that too. Of like, hey, you can submit a mixtape. Just fucking 60 minutes. Whatever you want. Maybe we can do that. We'll figure it out. But Gopnik was the longest hard bass album I could find. It's good. There's some good tracks on it. But, just didn't hit all the notes I liked. All the songs I really wanted to hear. So 7 out of 10. Around the Fur by Deftones from Jude. White Pony's better. It just is. I'm sorry. It's great. Around the Fur's great. They're getting into their sound. They're exploring. They're figuring things out. And there's some great tracks on there. But White Pony's better, Jude. I'm sorry. It just is. And maybe Around the Fur had a chance. Because I got through it, and I was like, okay, it's pretty good. It's Deftones. I know I like some Deftones, And I got through the album, and I saw that the last track was 37 minutes. Jude, you got my hopes up, and then you let me be crushed. I was so excited to hear, what are these boys going to do for 37 minutes? Did they listen to some post-rock? Did they find some inspiration? Did they have a grand masterpiece to show me? And then after 5 minutes, it's gone. It's done. Fast forwarded through the silence, listen to the bonus track. I'm not going to lie to you, Jude. Not going to lie to any of you. If there was a 37-minute track to end this album, holy shit, would I not stop talking about it. But there wasn't. I was lied to, and I was betrayed. And I want to give it a 7 because of that, but no, it's an 8. Let's be fair. It's an 8. It's a really good album. Last track. Last album. I have to re-record this whole fucking video now. Just kidding. Hybrid Theory. Linkin Park from Kyle. In the end, it doesn't even matter. It's a 4.5 out of 10. I don't like it. I don't like Limp Bizkit. The only rap rock that I really enjoy, and that's even like mild, is Rage Against the Machine. I'm not a Rage Against the Machine like super fan. It's just like sometimes I'm in the mood for it. Some tracks I'm in the mood for. Linkin Park doesn't do that for me. And it just sounds like whiny. I have white boy problems. I have white boy problems. Wah. I hate it. Don't like it. He can shut the fuck up. 4.5 out of 10. It's there. I'm not going to discredit in the end. I'm not going to discredit Crawling in My Skin. Those are classics. Those are iconic. But nothing else on the album stood out or was memorable or touched me in any way. So thank you for listening, for watching. I don't know if this saved me any time. I hope it did. I will try not to fucking fall so far behind on reviews again that I have to make a 40-minute long video. Later, nerds.